Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As acting board secretary, we're going to call the meeting to order. This is the advisory board regular reorganization meeting for April 29th, 2014. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 1046 et sec, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by advertising the Star Ledger, El Nuevo Coquí, Haiti Progress, and Luz Americana newspapers, and by distribution to the administrative offices in the Newark Public Schools. A copy of the meeting notice was also forwarded to City Hall for posting. This is the regular reorganization board meeting for Tuesday night, April 29th, 2014. Please stand for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, board members. Roll call. Mr. Hassan.
Present.
Mr. Kenny.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Here.
Ms. Matthias.
Here.
Dr. McCreary.
Here.
Ms. Perello.
Here.
Mr. Rashidi. Here. Mr. Sellinger.
Here.
Ms. Baskerville Richardson.
Here.
Student Representative Mr. Thomas. A quorum is present. I will now read the official results of the election from last Tuesday. Philip C. Sellinger, Jr., 2,873 votes. Antoinette Baskerville Richardson, 2,710 votes. Donald G. Jackson, Jr., 2,403 votes. Reginald Y. Bledsoe, 2,330 votes. Crystal Fonseca, 1,728 votes. Rachel Moss, 1,189 votes. Shakima K. Thomas, 564 votes. Ronnie Eugene Kellum, 400 votes. We will now proceed to the swearing in of the 3 new board members for the next term, Mr. Sellinger, Ms. Baskerville Richardson, and Mr. Jackson. office of a member of a Board of Education.
for the office of a member of a Board of Education.
I am not disqualified as a voter,
I am not disqualified as a voter,
nor by conviction of crime or offense,
nor by conviction of crime or offense,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're okay swearing, right? You want to swear or affirm? You're okay swearing, right?
Swear, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think somebody
Who is it?
pastor right here.
Pastor?
Yes.
Can't do it.
No?
It's got to be, yeah, it's got to be an attorney. All right? All right. That's- Ready?
Yeah, yep.
Here. You want to talk to him first?
No.
Okay.
Can my family come up?
Yeah. Hey,
You don't have passed out, you hold the Bible for it.
what side you on?
They told me to stay right
Oh, I'm sorry. Her. Right. And
Please bear with us.
Hey,
Okay.
you good?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, just one hand, raise one hand, put the other hand on the Bible. I, Donald G. Jackson, Jr.,
I, Donald G. Jackson, Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey
of the State of New Jersey
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same,
and also to the governments established
and also to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Donald G. Jackson, Jr.,
I, Donald G. Jackson, Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess
that I possess
the qualifications
the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office
for the office
of a member of a Board of Education.
of a member of the Board of Education.
I am not disqualified as a voter,
I'm not disqualified as a voter,
nor by conviction of crime or offense,
nor by conviction of crime or offense,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of that office
perform all the duties of that office
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Do I go back?
This side. Mr. Selinger, I, Philip C. Selinger, Jr.,
I, Philip C. Selinger, Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution
the Constitution
of the State of New Jersey
of the State of New Jersey
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and also to the
and
governments
also to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and this state
and this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Philip C. Selinger, Jr.,
I, Philip C. Selinger, Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess
that I possess
the qualifications
qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office
for the office
of a member of a Board of Education.
the office of the member of the Board of Education.
I'm not disqualified as a voter,
I am not disqualified as a voter,
nor by conviction of crime or offense,
nor by conviction or crime or offense,
and that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties of that office, perform all the duties of the office
duties of the office
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is I have to do roll call for new boards. I'm sorry. Roll call for the new board. Mr. Hassan.
Present.
Mr. Jackson.
Present.
Mr. Lewis. Ms. Matthias.
Present.
Dr. McCreary. Ms. Perello.
Present.
Mr. Rashidi.
Here.
Mr. Sellinger.
Present.
Ms. Baskerville-Richardson.
Present.
Mr. Thomas.
Here.
Okay, a quorum is present. New board is in place. First order of business for the new board, reorganization, selection of board officers. The floor is open for nominations for chair.
Yes,
Ms. Baskerville-Richardson.
I would like to nominate Mr. Rashan Hassan for chairperson.
Another nomination. Another nomination.
Is there a second for Mr. Hassan?
Second.
Second for Mr. Hassan? Mr. Rashidi? I have a nomination for Mr. Hassan. That is moved by Ms. Baskerville-Richardson and second by Mr. Rashidi. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Mr. Marquise Quill Lewis.
A nomination for Mr. Lewis by Mr. Jackson. Is there a second for Mr. Lewis?
Second.
Mr. Lewis on the second. Right now, we have two nominations. We have Mr. Hassan and we have Mr. Lewis. Is there a third nomination? Okay, I have a motion to close the floor to nominations.
So moved.
Who's moving it?
So moved.
Mr. Hassan, is there a second on that?
Second.
I got Mr. Lewis. All in favor of closing the floor to nominations?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, motion's closed. All right, so we have two nominations. We have Mr. Hassan and we have Mr. Lewis. As I go around, please state the name of the candidate that you are voting for. Okay, so we're going to start now with Ms. Baskerville-Richardson.
Mr. Rashan Hassan.
Mr. Hassan.
Rashan Hassan.
Mr. Jackson.
Marquise Quill Lewis.
Mr. Lewis.
Marquise Quill Lewis.
Ms. Matthias.
Rashan Hassan.
Dr. McCreary.
Mr. Hassan.
Ms. Perello.
Rashan Hassan.
Mr. Rashidi.
Rashan Hassan.
Mr. Sellinger.
Rashawn Hassan.
Congratulations, Mr. Hassan. Next order of business.
Okay, we're going to change this.
Why don't we change afterwards? Change afterwards, yeah. Change it, we have to do the vice. Do vice. Next order of business, vice chair. Chair is now open for nomination for vice chair.
I would like to nominate Donald Jackson for vice chair.
I nominate.
That's a motion for Mr. Jackson for vice chair made by Mr. Lewis. Is there a second?
Second.
Who's that? That's Mr. Jackson?
Jackson.
Okay, is there any other nominations for vice chairperson?
I nominate Ms. Ariana Perello.
I second it.
Okay, I have Ms. Perello, that's moved by Hassan, second by Baskerville-Richardson. Are there any other nominations? Is there a motion to close the floor to nominations for vice chair?
So moved.
Who's that, Mr. Hassan?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is it Matthias? Okay, I have a motion to close the floor to nominations for vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Okay, that motion carries. So now we're going to go around the table to vote for vice chair. There are two candidates. When I call your name, please tell me your candidate. Ms. Baskerville-Richardson.
Ms. Perello.
Mr. Hassan.
Ms. Ariana Perello.
Mr. Jackson.
Donald G. Jackson, Jr.
Mr. Lewis.
Donald G. Jackson, Jr.
Ms. Matthias.
Ariana Perello.
Dr. McCreary.
Ms. Perello.
Ms. Perello.
Ms. Perello.
Mr. Rashidi.
Ariana Perello.
Mr. Sellinger. Mr. Sellinger.
Ms. Perello.
Congratulations, Ms. Perello. Change. This is you, bro.
Good evening. At this time, I would like to obviously allow for an outstanding board member who served this community with fervence and zeal, Mr. Altery Kinney, an opportunity to make remarks to the community and to his fellow board members as he departs from this Newark Board of Education.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody who had confidence in me to make sure that I was able to represent you, families, children here in the city of Newark, not only with my vote, but also with my voice. I'd like to also thank the three outstanding presidents I was able to serve under, Ms. Antoinette Baskerville-Richardson 1 and 2 times, as well as Ileana Pinto-Marin. Their leadership is tremendous, and there is a new day in the city of Newark where we have young people who went to Newark Public Schools, like Rashawn Hassan, like Marquise Akil Lewis, like Khalil Rashidi, like Dr. McQuarrie and I went to Harriet Tubman, and Donald G. Jackson, who not only want to see something better in the city of Newark, but see something better for their children, my child to be, and children throughout the district. I'd like to also thank 3 special young ladies that I had a chance to meet in the last few weeks. They were under this impression that their schools are going to be closed. They're under the impression that their children don't have the right to go to a school in the neighborhood where they live. And because of them, I kept fighting and fighting and fighting because Ms. Veronica Branch, whose child attend a school in the Upper Clinton Hills District. You have Tawanda Dodell, whose child attend Grove Avenue School, and Ms. Garcia, whose child attends school in the district, realized what most of us realize, that a neighborhood school is not only important, but it's something that's democratic and it's their right. So to those 3 young ladies, this is not the last time we all going to be involved. We're going to continue fighting to make sure neighborhood schools belong in the city of Newark, is right, is just, and is fair. And it's just an impression. And to my board colleagues, and it's something that a friend of mine who went to Weekway with me, his name is Vaughn Crow, and he kept saying, continue to fight, 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 continue to push, push. When they tell you your school is closing, don't believe what they're saying. If they tell you that your child doesn't have a right to a fair and equitable education, don't believe anything they said. And to the people that I had a chance to serve with, 2 people that I actually went to high school with, Fred Chapman, who's now the principal at Harriet Tubman, and Fahim Ellis, who is the principal at Weekway High School. I admire their ability to serve children in the district. And it was, and there's one other thing I want to just read off, if you don't mind. I wrote this actually in 2011, and I didn't know what I was writing at the time. I just wrote some things that I thought came to mind. But again, this is 2011, and probably some of it can be accounted for today. Today, the city of Newark and the state of New Jersey will announce the new superintendent of Newark Public Schools. The elected Newark Public School Advisory Board did not receive any official correspondence from the state of New Jersey about the new hire or invitation to the pending press conference. This is in addition to the fact that the principal of Science Park High School, Mr. Lamont is here today, was notified just yesterday at 4 p.m. that the governor was coming to the school this morning to make the announcement. In addition, neither governor nor mayor notified the current superintendent of said press conference. This continues as an unacceptable trend of not respecting local leadership, another misstep in the wrong direction. What's troubling is a trend of paternalism, or we know best mentality that is prevalent in the city of Newark by new arrivals or those who do not live in our wonderful city. It disrupts the core values of transparency, partnership, and collaboration. Our city must encourage and respect community engagement, parental involvement, and student feedback. The more we think of the new hire, obviously the new hire didn't show up today, more questions come to mind. According to recent hiring trends, the city of Newark is under a misguided impression that any hire outside of the city of Newark is a more qualified leader. Deborah Terrell, who was our superintendent at that time, was the most qualified candidate of the finalists. Let me say this again. Deborah Terrell was the most qualified candidate of the finalists that were interviewed. Under Terrell's leadership, Ann Street and the Harriet Tubman Elementary School achieved National Blue Ribbon Award of Excellence by the U.S. Department of Education and Best Practices by the state of New Jersey. To put this in context, both schools are neighborhood schools under which her leadership and vision did not cream the best students from the city, but made cream from the children given. Was Deborah Terrell given a fair interview? What standards are we as a city setting in which a professional educator cannot rise to leadership in the city she lives and establish a track record of success? What message are we sending to community members in which success in your city will not lead to leadership opportunities? Are we practicing a hiring policy that many believe in order to receive opportunities, one must be twice as great? Shame on the state of New Jersey for perpetuating such a practice. At 11 a.m., Cammie Anderson of District 79 in New York City will receive the keys to our city's most valuable resource, the 39,000 children attending Norfolk Public Schools. The 39-year-old Cammie was a director of public and strategy for Cory Booker's failed campaign in 2002. With less than 10 years of experience as a public school educator, including a stint at a Montessori school, Camby became the executive director of Teach for America in New York City and appointed to be superintendent of District 79, an intervention model that attempts to find corrective solutions for at-risk children and adults. Her track record includes no experience as a principal. In addition, District 79 is a model that does not have one school meeting the blue ribbon standards. While a worthwhile venture, District 79 is not the right model of achievement for our children. It is an alternative education program that provides support to students who are pregnant, formerly incarcerated, in need of GED, and vocational opportunities. This is 3 years ago. Where is the track record of success for high-achieving students? What message is the governor, interim secretary of education, and Mayor Cory Booker was sending to the nation about Newark students and parents? What experience can she pull from that will give parents hope for the direction of education? Unfortunately, the process and the hire speaks volumes about the direction of public education and the core values of decision makers in our city and their belief in a thorough and efficient education. The city of Newark must do a better job of promoting talent from the city. Like Deborah Terrell and many others who met the requirements that will lead our city to a brighter future, all educational partners must work together. The Newark Public School Board is an elected board that cannot and will not continue to be ignored and disrespected. I wrote this 3 years ago, not realizing that 3 years later, we lost schools, we're losing teachers, and we're losing educators, not for the best, but for the worst. And to the members of the board, I admire you for making sure that our young people have education, but I will leave you with this. When I came into the board, we had the following schools: Dayton Street, Barringer 9, West Side 9, 15th Avenue, Martin Luther King Elementary, Camden Middle, my old school, the Academy of Vocational Careers, Samuel Berliner, then Dr. William H. Brown, and 18th Avenue. This is schools that we've had in our inventory when I got onto the board, and 3 years later, we have less schools now than when I arrived. So to the board, please continue to fight for a fair and neighborhood public school education. I believe in you, the district believes in you, meaning the people who actually believe in education, and the people in this audience believe in you. I love you, and from me to you, I try to do the best I could do to keep our schools open, and I try to do the best I can to make sure that I was able to protect employees who meant that they wanted to provide education for our young people. To a certain degree, I feel like I failed to do my job, but to let you know, the fight is bigger than any one individual on this board. It's about the fight and the people in this audience. Continue to fight. Just continue to fight and make sure that public education is a right. And I thank you. And to the families in the city of Newark, I tried. I did the best I can do. Every time I listen to parents who said, next year is going to be the 4th school that my child is going to be attending, there's something wrong with what's going on here in the city of Newark. When parents say that a school is right there across the street from where I live, and they can't even send their kid to the school that they have a right to send their kid to, that's unfair and that's wrong. When you have teachers in schools like Westside High School who say, I want to do the best I possibly can, but the school district ain't supporting me. That's unfair and that's wrong. And it's unfair, it's wrong, and I'm gonna do everything I possibly can going forward to make sure that my word is bond, that I'm gonna keep schools open, keep education available to young people in the city of Newark. It's just wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. So, without continuing to embarrass myself, just continue to fight, and to the employees that I had a great relationship with, the Valerie Merritt, the Valerie Wilson, the Charlotte Hitchcocks, the Carrolls, to Ms. Taylor, who was my principal, and to Ms. Deborah Smith Gregory, to so many people in this audience. Thank you for being an advocate and supporter of what we're able to do. You know, I believe in Newark. I believe in the city. I believe that we can do some tremendous things. Continue to fight for what's fair and what's right. Education in the city of Newark is the right thing to do. Continue to fight for education. Continue to fight for what's right. God bless, and thank you for the service that you allowed me to do for the last 3 years. Thank you, and God bless.
I would now like to allow an opportunity for our outgoing board chair, Ms. Antoinette Baskerville-Richardson, an opportunity to give remarks as she exits the seat as chair of this board.
Thank you, Chair Hassan. I will be very brief. I certainly am going to have a hard time following Al Tariq. But I just briefly, I hope that I have served the district, the community, and most of all, the students well as chair over the last 2 years. That was certainly my intent. I feel that we have moved forward from the starting point that we were at that time in terms of particularly moving towards local control of our district. I am not going anywhere. I am here for the next 3 years in a different seat, in a different capacity. However, my priorities have not changed. I will be just as active as I was as chair, as I have been throughout my career and throughout my involvement in the Newark Public Schools. We must have local control. We must have a superintendent that is the choice of this community, and I will continue to work for those things as well as keeping our schools open and restoring so many of the programs and the jewels of our district that have been lost over the last few years. To our new chair, the Honorable Rashan Hassan, I want to say not only congratulations, but I wish you well from the bottom of my heart as we have worked closely since the time that you came on the board. I would hope to continue that communication, continue that working relationship. I am here not to tell you what to do, but to do what you ask me to do, what you see the needs are that I can fulfill on this board, and you can call on me at any time. Thank you. Thank you.
First and foremost, I would like to thank my board colleagues for showing a level of faith in me this evening by supporting me and casting their votes in favor of me serving as the chair of the Newark Board of Education for the 2014-2015 school year. To our former board chair, Mrs. Antoinette Baskerville-Richardson, I thank you for serving as a mentor to me during my first year serving on this board and doing all the things that you said you would do, which was empower younger board members, younger members of the community to step up to the plate, take ownership, accountability, and responsibility for the future of this great city and the future of the Newark Board of Education. To the members of the community who are here today, I thank you for your tireless efforts and your supports, coming out to our meetings, doing all of the various works that you all do in the community day in and day out, and supporting our board when the state doesn't support us, when the county doesn't represent us well. We thank you for being here and standing behind us board members. We know at times it can appear to be a thankless job, but the endless reward that we receive at the end of the day is going home and knowing that we've put our best efforts forward to improve our educational system here for the children within the city of Newark, New Jersey. I'd also like to take time to offer an apology to the members of the community for the budget. So, I believe that,
Can we let the chair speak, please?
so I take all of those comments. I've taken the remarks that I've heard from community members. And I'll say one thing about that vote. I've heard from various community members, and they've said to me that it appears that I'm out of touch. Well, I just want to make a few comments about my humble beginnings and how the Newark Board of Education has impacted my life. My mother's been a district employee in this district for over 20 years. And I remember as an 8th grade student attending William H. Brown Junior Academy, which is now closed. I remember my mother coming home with a layoff notice and her telling me that she didn't have a job. Me being a 12-year-old child, I didn't understand the difference between being laid off or being fired. The only thing I knew was that my mother wouldn't be coming home with a paycheck. And as a single parent, those are the kind of things that are devastating and can collapse a household. So for those members of the community, I want to say for you and for everybody that's watching at home, in no way do I feel, or do I believe in the One Newark plan that has been presented by Cammie Anderson, and my vote for the budget was not a vote to reflect support of the One Newark plan by Cammie Anderson. So I say to you, members of the community, and I say to you, Miss Natasha Allen, I want the same thing for your brown baby that I want for my brown baby. Thank you for allowing me to make those remarks. I'm excited about this upcoming year, and I hope that during the course of the year, the work that we do will be received well by members of the community. At this point in time, we'd like to move on to public participation.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Lewis.
as the outgoing vice chair, I would like to make a statement. I want to say to this community that I've been on this board for 5 years. I voted for 5 different presidents. It didn't hurt me today that it didn't go the way I wanted it to go, because I'm used to being the underdog. But we also know the underdog is about to be on top soon. So I want you to know that I'm going to continue to fight on behalf of the children here in the city of Newark. See, I'm not about lip service 2 weeks ago, I sat down with the Secretary of Education, Arnie Duncan, and we talked about what's going on here in Newark, New Jersey, and what's going on with Newark Public Schools. And I was able to get a commitment for the Secretary of Education to come and hold a town hall meeting right here in the city of Newark that will happen this summer under the National Action Network of New Jersey. So I'm tired of talking. I'm about action. I'm ready to be about action. And just because I'm not the president, the title don't mean nothing. It's about the work. So while people will continue to sit up here and talk, I'm going to let the community know what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to advocate on behalf of the children here in the city of Newark. I'm going to continue to be dedicated to the children here in the city of Newark. It's an end for politics playing in this city. Politics have been played for too long when it came to our children. And it's time to really represent our children. I want to say congratulations to Donald Jackson, because a lot of people counted Donald Jackson out. And I remember in 2009, I was in the same position as Donald Jackson. That's why I supported, endorsed Donald Jackson, because I believed in his activism. I believed in what he'd been doing since high school. And when I looked at Donald Jackson, I saw Marquise Quill Lewis. And when I voted on that budget, I saw the face of every child. And when I looked in their face, I saw the face of Marquise Quill Lewis. When I looked in the eyes of the mothers coming up here crying about their schools being closing, I saw my mother, Aquila Stevens. When I saw that grandmother come up here and say that she's about to receive her diploma, and almost 70 years old, I saw my grandmother. So we got to go to the next level. And I'm willing to work with anybody to get to the next level. But I'm going to say this real clear. I'm tired of politics in this city. I'm tired of the politics that's being played in this school district. And maybe it's best that I didn't have the title, because now that I don't have the title, some people are going to pay for it. So I want to say, I'm ready, I'm fired up. And because you didn't give me the title, you got hell on your hands now.
Thank you, Board Member Lewis. As always, we appreciate your support and all your efforts, and we look forward to your continued work as a member of this board during the upcoming school year. I would like to now ask for Mr. Lamont Thomas, principal here at Science Park High School, to approach the podium to bring greetings and remarks on behalf of his school.
Good evening, parents, community members, chair, board members, and students. My name is Lamont Thomas, and I'm the proud principal of Science Park High School. I've had the honor of speaking before the board on several occasions, and as always, I would like to begin with the following questions and answers. How do you improve a school district? One school at a time. How do you improve a school? One classroom at a time. How do you improve a classroom? One student at a time. The solution to improving a district starts and ends at the heartbeat of the classroom. It starts and ends with the hearts and soul of our children. We must become a community that works as one, with one goal in mind. If our goal is to improve outcomes for our students, we must band together. Our sons and daughters, and quite frankly, our collective futures depend upon it. 3 weeks ago, our AP students here at Science Park, our AP Calculus and Statistics students, took first place in the district-wide Mathematics Olympics. Two weeks ago, a junior named Christian Cuervos took second place in a national debate competition. At that same event, our debate coach, Jonathan Austin, was named the National Debate Coach of the Year. A week ago today, U.S. World News and Reports ranked Science Park High School as a gold medal school. The top honor given out by this organization. Let me give you a little background. The U.S. World and News Reports ranked 19,400 schools nationwide. Only 500 schools received a gold medal. We were one of them. We were extremely happy. Furthermore, we are currently ranked number 25 in the state of New Jersey out of 398 high schools. And we're number 4 in the county. Last Friday evening, to about 10:30 at night, I had 500 families here celebrating International Night. The premise behind it is to celebrate the true diversity that exists here at Science Park. Yesterday and today, we had an extraordinary event. We had eyewitness news here. If you saw the news last night, you saw Science Park on the news. They were here to cover our every 15 minutes program, which is a program dedicated to really giving some insight and educating our teenagers about distracted driving and some of the consequences that could occur as a result. And it was extremely successful because of the efforts of organizations within our very own community. So, we continue to move the bar and redefine excellence here at Science. And I could proudly say that our students continue to meet and exceed our expectations. So community, how do you improve a school district? The answer is simply one student at a time. Thank you, and on behalf of my students, my parents, and my staff, welcome to Science Park High School, home of the Chargers.
Good evening, Advisory Board. I stand here tonight
Excuse me,
as,
we haven't gotten to the public participation
this
yet.
is not public participation. Okay? You were supposed to introduce me.
Just to keep order, I do understand we do need to move on and get to the public participation.
Oh.
And I would like to allow for our Vice President, Ms. Ariana Perello, to make her remarks because I did not afford her that opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. Where's Valerie? No, this is PTA. This is part of
She the PTA
the
president.
wealth.
PTA President here at Science Park.
Yes.
I'm the President Emeritus at Science Park, and I was given permission to speak. Okay, Valerie in the room, she gave me permission to speak. Okay? Good evening, Advisory Board. Also, good evening, my fellow parents, and especially to the students of Newark Public Schools. I am Denise Crawford, and tonight I'm speaking as not only a PTA member of Science Park, but I am also the Region Director for the PTA for Essex and Hudson County. I speak tonight because Science Park is one of our PTAs, and I wanted Mr. Thomas to stand here because we, as the parents of Science Park, would like to say thank you to Mr. Lamont Thomas for his dedication, for showing the leadership as our principal, for being a man that has stood up through everything and has taken this school, Science Park, to another level. If it had not for Mr. Thomas, for the last 2 days I am very emotional about what I'm about to say, but this program that he brought to Science Park every 15 minutes is gonna save so many children's lives. Yesterday and today, it showed that this gentleman here, along with Ms. Karen Gaylord, that they are real about what they do. This is not just a job for them, but this is actually a dedication, because they're not just doing education in this school, they are saving lives. When we had the mock funeral service, I forgot that I am a victim of a drunk driver when I was 5 or 6 years old, right down here on Norfolk Street. And so when I saw parents crying today and children crying, I just said, it could not go without me saying, Mr. Thomas, you are a true principal for Newark Public Schools, and keep on doing what you do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Perello?
Good evening, Mr. Chair Hassan. I want to thank you all, board colleagues, for your support as vice chair for this board for this year. I, of course, as I always do, but this year especially, I will work harder to ensure that we keep on working in the steps to obtaining local control, work harder so that our schools don't close, work harder so we could have after-school programs for our children, and of course, work harder so we have summer programs for our children, especially for this year. I thank you once again, Mr. Thomas, the principal. I want to commend you for all your hard work being put here at Science High School. Because of you, our students are where they're supposed to be. They're in a great school, of course, with a great teacher. The community, thank you once again for this opportunity, and that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll now move into public participation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the public participation portion of the meeting. As a reminder, time limits for all speakers are enforced. There's no sharing or granting of speaking time to others. Speakers must be present when their name is called. Speakers are required to give names and addresses. The public participation portion of the meeting will be limited to an hour and 30 minutes. Examples of unacceptable behavior that are not permitted include, but are not limited to, naming district employees and engaging in personal attacks, slurs, excessive loudness, calling out, yelling, disruptive behavior, attempting to disrupt the meeting, or inciting others to do so. Public participation at these meetings is intended to allow individual members of the public the opportunity to address the board and the administration on issues of public concern, not as a forum for two-way dialogue with board members or district officials. The superintendent's designee or chair may respond to questions either at the end of the session, or responses may be provided at a later time. The superintendent's designee or chair may interrupt any speaker or terminate any speaking privilege if the speaker's comments are disruptive or obscene. An individual may be cautioned that personally directed statement may be slanderous or defaming, and the individual may be liable for his or her statements. Attempts to hijack, filibuster proceedings, repeated interrupting or badgering the board members or district officials, repetitive truculent speech, or disregard of rules of decorum are not tolerated, may subject the individual group to removal from the building. If necessary, the meeting may be adjourned.
Thank you. As always, we will start with the list of speakers, starting with students first. The first name on our list is Mr. Pedro Alcivar.
My name is Pedro Alcivar, and I am an 8th grade student at Hawthorne Avenue School. On behalf of the students at Hawthorne Avenue School, we demand that Hawthorne Avenue School stay open with the current administrators and staff, and that the current students from K through 7 be allowed to stay. Hawthorne Avenue School is moving in the correct direction. Students are supposed to get better each year. Our achievement data proves that we are getting better in literacy and math. We met our state targets in literacy and exceeded the target in math. Our school has a positive culture where the staff and students get together and work as a family. We really have Hawk pride. The students finally believe that we can be from an urban area and perform just as well as other kids in Newark and in the state. Hawthorne actually outperformed 94% of the schools in the entire state like us in student growth, and we outperformed 72% of the schools in overall achievement. And just last week in the Newark Public School Math Olympics, Hawthorne outperformed 7 of the Renew schools and outperformed all of the Brick schools. Shouldn't you be proud of us as a superintendent? Is money more important than students believing and performing better each year? Everyone makes mistakes. And Superintendent Anderson, you are making a big mistake. For the sake of the students and community who finally believe that we can do great things academically, leave Hawthorne Avenue School alone and let us remain open. We do not want new teachers. We do not want a new principal. We do not want to attend any other school. We want Hawthorne to stay open, and we want Cammie Anderson to leave the Newark Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. Next speaker is Miss, I believe it's Najee Mohammed. Just a reminder for the speakers, please make sure that you state obviously your name and your address when you approach the podium to give your remarks, please.
My name is Najee Mohammed, 61 Slot Street. I want to recite a poem that I learned in Hawthorne Avenue School Young Men's Academy. I recite this poem on behalf of everyone who felt lost but found a place where they could feel love unconditionally. Stan, it was so easy for you to judge me and criticize. You stood afar, nearly waiting for my demise, like those who had politicized my circumstance. I feel so confused. Like for the last 15 years, it was easier for you to choose judging me over helping me. And my mother kept telling me, be a man. But my father was never there, so I struggled to conceptualize what I didn't understand. And only guys that I seen growing up who seemed to have a plan thought that nothing could be accomplished without drugs or a gun in my hand. So there I stood, forgetting that I still could be loved. So I sought after love via Crips and Bloods, because I thought that they could give me something that you couldn't. But as it turns out, it was only that you wouldn't. So there I stood, in the middle of existence identified as my hood. I knew within me there had to be some good, I just needed guidance. And what you guys chose to call defiance just was a result of having no one to trust. And then there was one who chose not to look at me with disgust, but told me that changing my life around was a must. I never knew how much he knew, all I knew was how much he cared. Then he dared to introduce me to more like him, who refused to just stare. They told me how to brush my hair, pull up my pants, and told me that fighting in school and in the streets wasn't what makes a young man tough. These brothers, these men, they became my lifelong fathers, brothers, my lifelong friends. They told me that I had to rise above my struggles and that they had to do the same as well. That I had to just hold on because I would have my own story to tell to the next generation. And with proper preparation, anything I want is for the taking. So here I stand with new dreams, new hopes, a new plan. Not where I should be, but I'm starting to see what a real man is and does. And I mean, some still try to judge according to what I was, but later for them, because I know that with the help of a few, that I could be better than where I am and be a better man. And that when it's all said and done, I know that I must stand.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Our next speaker is Taekwon Finley. Taekwon Finley. Next speaker on our list is Quaisha Mitchell.
Hi, my name is Quaisha Mitchell, 578 South 18th Street. Hi, I'm a freshman here in the city of Newark, and I'm also an intern with an organization called Move This World. Move This World uses creative expression as a way to transform conflict and prevent bullying and violence in communities worldwide. As a Newark resident born and raised, I've witnessed a lot of violence, and I personally believe Move This World can be the answer to this problem. I was born and raised here, so this is the only home I've ever known. One thing I noticed is that most kids go through the same problems each and every day, but often hold them back because they never know how to deal with it. This often results in them to turn to violence. School should be a safe environment. No kid should have to come to school and worry about having lockdown drills or dismissals because our teachers fear for our lives. Every child should feel safe when they come to school. It's kind of scary to me. For example, last year I attended school, and one of the kids got into altercation with another kid from Central High, and that Central High student threatened to shoot up our school. That's the scariest feeling, to have to sit in school and be like, what if I die today? I should come to school to get education, just like everybody else. Move This World is a change I've always wanted to see. I observed a lesson that was taught for teachers, and I realized at that time that everybody goes through the same problems every day, and as we talk about it, we often realize that when you go through the same thing with someone else, you can kind of solve it with each other. And at that moment, I realized, I feel most kids turn to violence because they have no other way to express themselves, and it's a part of our everyday lives. But think about this. What if we start kids young with conflict resolution? We will have less fights in school each year because kids know how to resolve their anger opposed to physical violence. That's the main purpose of Move This World, conflict resolution through movement. I'm actually getting to experience this amazing program with my council. We only had 2 sessions, but so far I can say each session I see a change. I see us interacting in other ways I never thought we wanted to. I could say we're not a perfect council, but we're getting better. Move This World can give kids and adults alternate ways to resolve conflict resolution and a fun way to release stress. Newark welcome the change we always long to see. Move This World.
All right.
Next speaker, Mr. Rafael Duarte.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and fellow students. My name is Rafael Duarte, 52 St. Francis Street. I am currently a junior enrolled at one of Essex County vocational schools, and yes, not part of Newark Public Schools. But for 8 years, I've had my best memories at a Newark Public School.
All right.
According to NewJersey.com, Overall, 67% of 3rd through 8th graders were proficient or better in language arts, and 75% of those students reached the same benchmarks in mathematics. According to data released by the State Board of Education meeting in Trenton, which was last year's NJS testing, the state's high school students fared even better. About 93% of state's 11th graders scored proficient or better on the HESPA. Language arts also fared an increase of 1 point over last year, at almost 86% were proficient in math, which was a 2.3 gain. These results, though not the best, but are certainly enough to make Newark look good. Yes, it indeed does hit a nerve when I hear somebody bad-mouthing off about the city. This is extremely diverse and is capable of becoming one of the top-ranking cities in Newark. Growing up, I was always involved in extracurricular activities which kept me off the streets. Not saying that I would do anything wrong, but we cannot give chances. I believe that if the board was to look for sponsors and for those who are willing to generously donate instead of always wasting money on fixing and buying new equipment, it would help tremendously. But the problem with that is simply the fact that board directors would rather sit back behind the desk, feet stacked, and relax. If you take a look at highschools.com/New Jersey, you'll realize that there are well over 30,000 students enrolled in the Newark Public Schools. In a recent article by thecrimерeport.org, it takes an inmate for 1 year to be paid about $14,000 in Kentucky, which ranges to $60,000 in 1 year here in New York City. It seems that we rather imprison our own people than give them a right of a free education, which is put down in the Constitution of America. Never did I understand that. And Napoleon Hill once quoted, "Great achievement is usually born of great sacrifice, and never of selfishness." In a sense, to create a chartered school, students are selected based on their grades and proficiency, even before they start their first class. According to NewYorkTimes.com, a program known as the Pay for Performance, as part of the new contract, will allow teachers who are top rated to earn a bonus of $12,500. And there is no logic. In conclusion, I would like to state that the education of each individual student is extremely important, and parents leave it into the hands of those who understand the process better. But sometimes we must listen to those who are seeing the damage being done. I kindly ask, as a team, everything is reviewed, discussed, and a new solution is drawn. I greatly appreciate your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Duarte. Next speaker, Ms. Najima Scott. Next speaker, Shahada Falk. Next speaker is Sapphire Allen Scrugg. Next speaker, Ms. Khadija Bhatti. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. My name is Khadija Bhatti. I'm a sophomore at University High School. I'd like to start off by congratulating and thanking Donald for finally getting the position he rightfully deserves. I can't stress enough how much Donald is the voice of truth. Congratulations, and I can't wait till the day I sit on the board with you. But can we ever talk about how quality education doesn't exist anymore? My freshman year surpasses this year by a landslide, and 3 out of 5 of my freshman teachers have all left. I mean, why would anyone want to stay in this type of environment? At this rate, if Newark won't have any more educators left, just Teach for America groupies. Next, I'd like to comment on the 2014-2015 budget. In slide 10 out of 30, in our budget priorities addressing budget challenges, subsection 1 states, we've taken steps to address our financial challenges while keeping students our chief priority. Subsection 2 goes, annual per pupil funding has gone down by less than 2%, while supposedly solving for the $100 million funding gap. If students were a chief priority, why are we losing? But slide 26 in the excellence column goes on to justify that the $174 that students are losing won't be as detrimental to us because they are investing in initiatives to retain and support teachers. Yet teachers across the district worry about having a job next year or not. In the equity column, it states, we're investing in technology to ensure all 21st century learning environments. But what technology? The sentence is vague at best and adds the technology input should have been enacted a long time ago. That way schools would not be lacking computers taking standardized tests such as the PARCC, which can only be done on the computer. And schools wouldn't have to have testing dummies because of the lack of computers, and every student would get the exposure they need to excel in these mandatory tests. Not to mention it took schools 2 to 3 days to get the hang of the PARCC assessment because of all the technicality of the world we aren't exposed to. To sum up slide 26 in the column titled, Efficiency does little to no job at addressing anything related to efficiency, it just says we're realizing building efficiencies as a result of one Newark changes. But what are these changes, and if they involve budget efficiencies, why aren't they mentioned? And it ends off with, by focusing and retaining on supporting our students, out-of-district tuition is projected to decline. What does focusing on students have anything to do with out-of-district tuition, and why does it even affect us? Once again, the annual budget report has failed to inform its community on the reasoning behind the numbers.
Thank you, Ms. Bati. Next speaker, Joe Del Grasso, NTU.
I don't know where you're going, but you're going there, honey. You will arrive.